Hello, and welcome back to my channel. My name is David, and I'm here with a belated weekend wrap-up, because I meant to do it this weekend, but this weekend was a big scratch on getting to do most of the stuff I wanted. So, I actually got through a fair number of books for a change, and it felt good. But it was a hard press last night, and that was the decision. Do I film? Or do I try to get through the things I wanted to get through? And I decided to go with the things that I wanted to get through. So let's first talk about the books I finished. So I finished King Lear by William Shakespeare. I didn't want to grab my Riverside Shakespeare off the shelf. But my buddy read that with Aaron Facer. And I think he has said that it's his new favorite for Shakespeare. And it was a great revisiting that play for me. Really, really enjoyed it. It's what I'd love to see. If you have a recommendation on a good stage production, not an adaptation, but if there's one that's a good, pretty true to it film adaptation, let me know. I'd love to check it out. So the second thing I finished was another buddy read. I figured I'd start with the buddy reads. And that is this delightful book, The Word Horde, Daily Life in Old English by Hada Vidin. I talked about this a little bit last week, but it has got just a treasury of information in here. Not only because of, you can see there along the door, we got Weird, Ligdraka, Beogang, Dust, Quinig, Unlucan, Hreinfinger, Geffelfish, Waferganj, Drunken Gjorn, Harfest, Dreamcraft. Lots of really fun words. Really, really good resource. This is going to be a book that I'm going to probably pull off the shelf repeatedly over the years. If for nothing else, then for the delightful wit and charm that the author uses throughout. It is a very engaging, very readable book. And it has a ton of vocabulary. A lot of it presented in a really good way that makes it just make sense. It doesn't make it stick. You're not trying to do rote memorization or anything, but a couple reads in, you'll start remembering. And it's surprising to a lot of people, I'm sure, when they start going through here and be like, well, hey, I can kind of see how that has turned into what I know today, the word to be. So, really, really enjoyed this book. Even if you have no interest in Old English itself, it has plenty of the daily life back during that time. So if you have interest in what it was like in the kind of early to medieval age, this is a really, really good book. Next, I want to talk about Stainless Steel Rat. I finished the third book in here, which finished my little collection here. These were the 3 Stainless Steel Rat books I had. And this one was Stainless Steel Rat Saves the World, where there's time travel and potential time paradoxes coming to surface. And done pretty well. I think it was my least favorite of the 3 in here. But it was still really, really enjoyable. This would be a Garbaugust pick. So if you're looking for something to fit the bill for August, to read along for that, and you see a Stainless Steel Rat sitting on the shelf, you can definitely pick it up and give it a read. I think it's a little bit better than that, but I'm in the same camp with Michael K. Vaughan and thinking that Tarzan and John Carter by Edgar Rice Burroughs are not trash either. So take that with a grain of salt if you have opinions on those kinds of books. You may think that Stainless Steel Rat is also in that camp. And then the last one I finished. I saved the best for last on the ones I finished. This is Old Man Logan. Oh, this is wonderful. I meant to do I'm remembering now. I meant to do a Mutant Mondays today. I dropped the ball on that. Next week, I will do a Mutant Mondays on this because I want to talk about this at length. It is wonderful. If you were to read only one Wolverine series, I think you'd be hard pressed to find a better one than this. Now, is this Wolverine as Wolverine for most of it? No. No. It's actually, you get the story of how he broke, how the villains broke Wolverine. And he spent 50 years being a pacifist. And towards the end, there comes a huge 2-page snikt, which, for those that are not familiar with X-Men, that is the sound that is represented on the page when Wolverine's claws come out. That is an epic moment. Such an epic moment. And all this build up for that, and it pays off in spades. Wonderful, wonderful experience reading Old Man Logan. All right, so let's talk about the books I've read. I've got a book to show you, a couple of other books to show you, and some Garbaugust to show you. So I'm still working through There Will Be War. I'm really enjoying this. This is a pretty good anthology. You know, it's got some misses in there. It's got some interesting things when it's trying to mix in some nonfiction almost in there. Which, you know, we're far enough removed from it now that it just isn't as great. But at the time, I imagine that would have just been absolutely mind-boggling. But I'm coming up on His Truth Goes Marching On by Jerry Pournelle. I'm very much looking forward to that. It's one of the longer pieces in here, so we'll see. Maybe I'll get a chance to start reading it tonight. However, I will have stiff competition because just today I started Lost Metal by Brandon Sanderson. I'm already over 50 pages in. I needed this. So, Brandon Sanderson, I've read most Brandon Sanderson in the past. And this is the year of his secret projects coming out. I did not go in on the secret projects, but I've been able to read the first 2 that have been released. I thought the one was pretty good. Wasn't a favorite by any stretch of the imagination, but it was fun, it was enjoyable. And potentially a good place for people that haven't read a Sanderson and want to get a feel for him, but don't want to start with something longer like Mistborn. And then Secret Project 2 was a huge miss for me. Surprising, because it was time travel and medieval period. Huge, huge miss. But already, this has been a huge hit, getting back to Wax and Wane. And this is book 4, the final book of Era 2 of the Mistborn series. So, yeah, this has been really, really fun so far. And it may be what I binged throughout the whole week. I don't know. I'm going to try to get some There Will Be War in there. And then my morning mutant reading, I've got The Executioner Song. I finally got to see Mojo on the page. So that was kind of interesting. And yeah, this has been exactly what I expect so far. And it's all building up. So I think things are building, and it's going to start rolling into the big plot twists and reveals. I'm not very far into it. But I think all hell is about to break loose. Which is going to be a lot of fun. So part of the reason why I was way behind on getting stuff done over the weekend. Friday was anniversary for my wife and myself. And so we didn't get a chance to spend it together really Friday. So we had Saturday where her parents watched kids. We were able to get out of town. We did some hiking. We went about an hour and a half away, did some hiking, and stopped at an indie bookstore in the area because I've got the map that is now behind me hanging up there. And there was a state park and an indie bookstore all in the same kind of vicinity. So I was like, you know what? We should go there. We could do this. We could go there, do that. So the bookstore was called Hedges. And when Googling it, it was labeled as books, toys, and more. And I would reverse that order. I would call it more a toy store for kids with some candy and then a few books. There was like 2 6-foot shelves of YA middle grade and children's, and 2 6-foot shelves of contemporary modern adult fiction. So recent books. I had a really hard time trying to find something to buy in there, because that's one of my exceptions on the 500 book challenges. If I'm in a new indie bookstore, I want to support them. I want them to have the business to continue to grow, to stay afloat. And I thought I was going to be walking out with nothing. My wife found a few things to pick up for our son. But then I saw a book. I'm like, okay, this one's on like the long list of books that I'd be interested in. And once I read the back of it, I was a little bit more interested because it happened to coincide pretty nicely. And that is Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. I've not read anything by Emily St. John Mandel, but I know people absolutely love her. I'm nervous because people absolutely love Becky Chambers, and I did not get along with Becky Chambers at all. I'm fearful that that's going to be true with someone like Emily St. John Mandel as well. However, read just the first paragraph at the back here. Kristen Raymond will never forget the night Arthur Leander, the famous Hollywood actor, had a heart attack on stage during a production of King Lear. That was also the night when a devastating flu pandemic arrived in the city, and within weeks, civilization as we knew it came to an end. So what timing, as I was reading King Lear, to pick this up on? You know why? Irony, right? So let's talk. So that was my book haul. I did pick up 2 other books, but not for me, with the intention of sending them along to, a booktuber that I have been generously donated to plenty of times. So I figured it was time to give back a little bit. So the reason that prompted all of this, of course, I'm sending him Block and Bradbury, which I read and really enjoyed, and I know he would enjoy this too. But I also went and did a little Garbaugust shopping, because he said in a recent video that nobody ever sends him anything for Garbaugust, so I took that as gauntlet thrown. Challenge accepted. I tried to pick things that could be really, really bad Garbaugust, or could be really, really good for him as a target audience. I think I might have succeeded, and I'm hoping these both fall into the really on target for him, rather than Garbaugust, being absolute trash. But you never know, because one of the things that is very, very possible with when you're dealing with an IP that people know and love, especially one that's not usually in a novelized or fiction format, is that things could be really, really bad when they try to put them into a book form. And so I picked up The Death and Life of Superman by Roger Stern, and Spider-Man, The Sinister Six combo. So it's got 2 complete novels here. So let's see what these 2 novels are. So it just says it's the Sinister Six combo. So we have Revenge of the Sinister Six, and it's not going to tell me I'm going to have to get to it. Really? Are you that bad at table of contents here? The front doesn't tell me. Yeah. Okay. So one of the 2 is that. Okay. Yeah. Interesting. So there's 2 books in here. I don't know what the second one is without flipping through to find out. Revenge of the Sinister Six. Secret of the Sinister Six. So Revenge of the Sinister Six and Secret of the Sinister Six, as it tells me up here. So those will be going out in the mail tomorrow, and on their way to my friend, who I'm sure you will see when they get there I'm sure he'll hold them up in one of his weekend wrap-ups. So last but not least, August's coming up. Everybody's excited about Garbaugust. I'm not as excited about Garbaugust. But, I figured today, as I'm getting ready to do those, I'm like, you know what? I should pull out some books for that. I've got one that kind of ties into the superhero ones, and that's what prompted it. So, we'll show that one first. I have on my shelf. I thought this was a comic when I was buying it on eBay. I didn't realize until before it shipped to you, and arrived. Before it had arrived, after it had shipped, I realized my mistake. I mulled about getting rid of it, but I figured it's Wolverine. It was marketed as a Weapon X omnibus. So I thought I was getting it for a steal for about $8. And this is still a really thick book. This is almost 800 pages. So it's got a couple of stories in here. And like the other one. Alright, so it's got Weapon X, Road of Bones, and Lifeblood. It says these are 3 fan favorites, so we'll see. We'll see. I might read 1, 2, or 3 of them, depending on how into them I get. But I will at least read that first one and give it a shot. Second is one that I planned on reading last year and never got around to. And that's Tarnsmen of Gore. Now I hear that book 1 isn't nearly as wild as it gets later on. So this is going to be fairly tame in terms of the garbage aspect of it. But it's book 1 in a long-running series. And then last but not least, I'm going to use it as an excuse to hopefully, finally, read a book that I've been excited to read. So it's by George Lucas and Chris Claremont, and that's Shadow Moon. So from 2 of the greatest imaginations of our time. This could be really, really good, or it could be really, really awful. And it opens up by saying 13 years have passed since the epic battle of Nockmaar. And those of you that don't know, that is a willow. So, I watched a lot of times as a kid the Willow movie. I watched the Willow show that was up for a few months. And actually really enjoyed most of it. So it is only fitting that I will read Shadow Moon, which is a Willow book. It's a Willow sequel in book form. And so it could be really, really good or really, really bad. We will find out. So that's all I've got. My plan, I'm going to be reading some Sanderson and some There Will Be War. That's all I expect to make progress on. But you never know. I might get through those, and then I'll be jumping into There Won't Be War. Assuming that whenever I finish There Will Be War, I'll move into that. If I finish Sanderson first, who knows? I'm thinking maybe the Barnard Cornwell that I pulled out from the Sharp series. So anyway, that's enough rambling. I've got things to do. I will catch you later.